Hello all and welcome back to a new episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode. So we invite you to watch along with us. Right now we're reviewing one of our favorite shows, The Bear, and we are on season 4. And today we're going to be discussing episode 3 titled Scallop. This is a very good episode title. I really like it. If you haven't watched this episode yet, this is your spoiler alert. Please check it out before continuing to listen to the rest of our conversation. Sarah, once again, I'm so excited for this episode summary from The Bear. What is it for episode 3?
I don't know that you're ready because it is just a one-word summary.
What?
Only one word.
No.
One word. And that one word is opportunity.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yo, the bear got some things up its sleeve, you know? Knowing what happens in this episode, that one's so good. Oh, that hit me in my feels. Wow. Well done, the bear. Jeez. All right. Let me collect myself. All right. Our episode titles and TV Nest tradition for this third episode. Sarah, what is yours?
My episode title is Trying.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, it's very well done. Well done. Yeah. My episode title is Better Than Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Let's dive in. Thoughts? So to chart our temperatures of the season up to this point, episode 1 was fine, solid. I think I maybe liked it a little bit better than you did. But we're back. Episode 2, okay. We've got hope, we've got direction, and a vision was born. And now episode 3, where does this land for you? It's not the fun chaos episode that we thought we were going to get at all. Not at all.
There is some fact chaos. So you did call that. It just wasn't as much as we were maybe envisioning.
Yes. We got quite an emotional episode. How did this third one land for you?
Yeah, there are a lot of emotions in this episode, which kind of surprised me because the previous one is so contemplative and kind of somber. And this one continues on that journey. And that's just so interesting to see because I don't feel like the show has really dropped us into an emotion like this and kept that going for multiple episodes like this, which is probably smart because I don't know that Carmy has had this level of like emotional awareness and emotional growth so far in the show. So maybe like some of these creative choices are really trying to like take us into what Carmy is experiencing and like kind of the growth that he's going through. I'm still kind of hesitant about the show, but I do think this episode doing what it needs to do. It sets up some really interesting things. It seems to be marching along the timeline that we talked about in the last episode a lot more quickly than I thought that it was going to. And I think that ending, I really wanted to hit the next episode after Carmy's like, hey, I need you to change something in the partner agreement. Like, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I want to keep watching now. Whereas the first episode, I was like, I'm not really like gearing up to watch the next episode. But after this one, I was like, I need us to like record this episode so that I can go and watch the next episode. I'm ready.
You know, it makes me nervous though that
absolutely
are landing at that vision point, that glorious, happy, melancholic ending that we want so quickly, because that means a lot's going to go wrong afterwards, which means that we're just going to, get more content of the show perhaps. But I think it's notable that we are not inching our way towards that. We're actually barreling forward in that direction now. And what all will fall apart along the way. And then maybe we'll come back together again by the end of this season, hopefully, so the show can end. Yeah, I was shocked that he seems to have made so many of those choices so quickly. And honestly, I don't think he's ready for it either. I think that it's a impulsive decision. It's a rash decision that we know Carmy is known to make. And I think his reasons for it are also totally wrong for what our vision was for him to like come to terms with this and really let this go. I think he's kind of like doing it in reaction to everything that Claire said and wanting to reconcile and almost like doing it for Claire, which I hate, even though it is the choice that we want him to make. But I'm like, Carmy, not like this, you know? So yeah, I feel like a lot's going to go wrong before it hopefully all comes together in the way that we want it to. But I think it's an interesting pace and kind of an unexpected pace, which I think is going to be really interesting because we maybe could have charted this out if this had been the ending of the season. But now that we're barreling towards that and kind of like going past that exit sign right there, where else will this road take us now? There's a lot more that can happen. So I think that's a smart choice to kind of play with our expectations in that way.
Well, and the other part of it too is like Sydney has had this partnership agreement in her inbox for months over the course of the show. You know, like the entirety of season 3, she did not sign the partnership agreement. So I think that's the other piece of it is even if Carmy pulls the trigger, so to speak, that doesn't necessarily mean that Sydney needs to respond immediately either. And so that could also be an interesting source of tension if like Carmy is like pushing her and she's not ready. Or she just needs time to think. She's weighing the Shapiro offer, whatever. So I think that there's still, I don't think that Carmy signing it over means that Sid is taking it over. And that space in between those two potential actions could make for some really interesting moments of tension.
Mm-hmm. And like they're constantly changing motivations for it as well. I think is going to be interesting because Sid clocks everything, and I think she can see that he's not doing this with full coherence and kind of sober minded. He's kind of driven by the emotions of the moment and this impulse, and maybe for the wrong reasons too, to try and I don't know, find his way back and reconcile with Claire in some way, or almost try and find that quiet that Claire's talking about too quickly, or just rushing it all, and Sid can clock that. So yeah, I think it'll be fascinating to see the way that the dynamic might be different than we expected as well, where we're envisioning that like Carmy hands it over in this really beautiful way to Sid, but it might be him pushing her in an annoying way and pressuring her even to take it on when she's not ready yet. And I don't know, like who else will come into the picture too to like sort out what this end game might look like. It's funny, it reminds me a little bit of the Succession season 4 trajectory and those constantly changing game board of endgame possibilities for who's going to take over the company. And like moment to moment, it seems to be someone totally different. So it kind of feels like that with this, you know, instead of taking over the Roy Corporation, it's the bear, and who will be the one to receive it at the end. Will it still be a partnership? Will it be a sole ownership? Will it be something different entirely? I think it'll be fascinating to see. So it's fun to see those like meta stakes in addition to the character dynamics too of where this restaurant will ultimately land in the hands of.
Yeah, and everybody is kind of seemingly making moves separately from each other, you know, like even Ibra is meeting with this other business person and showing him the books and all of that and like everything that they've been able to accomplish. And so I think that that's also an interesting piece of it. We see Uncle Jimmy selling his house. And so I thought that that was a really interesting piece of it too. Like, and showing us just how much he is hurting financially, that I don't think that I clocked in that earlier episode when him and the computer show up with the clock.
Yeah.
And seeing just how he is in a really financially bad spot, and he didn't share, I think, the extent of that with the
Yeah.
crew. So I love that the show is bringing us into that as well. So we're seeing all of these other forces that are also in play in addition to our group that we've been following, and everybody's making different decisions, everybody's making moves, and we don't know how all of these are going to end up kind of colliding with each other. And I'm sure it's going to make for some really compelling storylines in the future episodes.
And what's great about it too is that everyone's making their individual choices, but there is not awareness and transparency between all of them around those choices, which just is a recipe for chaos, which inevitably shit's gonna hit the fan and we're gonna get to see that unfold. But like, there doesn't seem to be an awareness that other people have about moves everyone else is making. Um, People don't really know that Sid's talking to Shapiro. I don't know how much people know that Abra's talking to this mentor who's like getting to see all of their financial statements. And I love that Uncle Jimmy doesn't share about like how bad it is really for him. He's such an abrasive personality on display when he's with others, but he's, as we've seen throughout the show, he's kind of a big softy and like really does believe in these kids to him, and are trying to root for them in the ways that he can silently behind the scenes. So I think everyone's in their parallel strands, and at some point they're all going to collide in really great ways and also maybe some really chaotic ways, which I think we're going to get to see over the course of the show, which is great. We love some chaos.
Absolutely. That is what we have been waiting for. We don't want the chaos menu, but we want some like chaos with these characters. And the
Yes.
show is like building up to that point, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about Claire. Claire is back. Tell me your thoughts about how that scene unfolds. It's so emotional. You feel the weightiness of how long this conversation has been waiting to happen. I didn't realize that it had been literal months until Claire says that. Like, hey, it's been months. And I was like, oh, dang, Carmy. Like, I knew it was bad. I knew it'd been a while, but months. So this is a long time coming.
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts about how that
Yeah.
went.
Honestly, I was so nervous when Carmy stepped off of the subway and just started running. And I was like, oh no.
Yep. We know where he's going.
I don't want a rom-com where he runs to her and then he apologizes and professes his love. And then she's like, oh my gosh, it's okay. Like, no, I don't want that crap. Get that out of here.
Yep.
And we didn't get that. And I appreciated that. I really loved that conversation and kind of how it went. And I particularly love how Claire kind of, you see these shifts in her throughout the conversation. And at first she's like, nope, I'm not helping you. You should have been here months ago with this apology. I am a brick wall and you can just talk. And then over the course, like she begins to like soften, and she is also able to express like, I was scared too. Like, it's not
Yeah.
just you. I also come up from like a jacked up family. Like, you're not the
Yeah.
only one. And I tried to grow and you didn't. And so I loved how like vulnerable and honest she is in that conversation, while also not
Mm-hmm.
putting up with any of Carmi's crap. And so I really appreciate how that all went down. And I think even the way that like they start out talking and then they start yelling at each other and then they go back to talking, like all of it just felt so organic and natural and true to life, and not at all like what you would see in a rom-com. So I was like, great, we avoided the tropes, and so I'm pleased with that. And then she went inside, she shut the door and was like, nope, I'm done, go away. And I
Yeah.
loved her boundaries. Way to go, Claire, we're proud of you.
Yeah. I think the combo itself is obviously so well paced and structured and written. I particularly love how the combo ends because I think there's a beat where she's talking about how like it could have been really tragic and hard, but also could have been incredible. And you see that she's so tempted to just like soften so much more to him. And she feels that happen. And you see her reel it back and bring it back and be like, I can't do this right now today. I really should go and to think about it and process. And there's just a lot happening right now. And I need to go take a moment and not commit to something that I'm not ready for just because of this person that I love is in front of me. And obviously every heartstring is being pulled. And I want to just like give him another chance and try again and give this another shot. You see that like hopefulness that starts to rise in her as the conversation's unfolding by seeing this person finally take accountability and wanting to reconcile, but she stops herself. And I think that was so wise of her. She recognizes that this is going to take time and we shouldn't rush this, even if we were to try again. Like, I need time to go sit with this and understand a little bit more of like where I'm at, where he's at, and if we even do this again, But you see how she wants to, but she kind of stops herself. And I think the wisdom she has in that is really smart. And also, like, I think subverts some of those like rom-com expectations that maybe we were like thinking was going to happen too, of like, and then they make up and they get back together. It's like realistically in life, it doesn't happen that quickly, nor should it happen that quickly. And there's a wisdom in allowing it to take time to walk through it step by step and not to like run ahead just because the moment feels maybe like it's ripe for it. So I loved the way that the convo ends, and it kind of ends really abruptly too. Like they're sitting in this really emotional moment, and then she's like, you see it, like things cross her mind, and then she's like, "But it's late. I gotta go, and let's yep, if you want to talk to me, I need time." And I just think the abruptness of it was pretty genius too. Because how do you end a conversation like that? You know, honestly, that's how it happens. It's like it's late
Yeah,
and she's
exactly.
got work. She's an ER nurse. She's got work to
Yeah.
do, and she needs to take a moment. And I love that she knows that she needs that.
Yeah. Yeah. So also just shout out to Molly Gordon for giving such a good performance in that,
Yeah.
because I mean, obviously she has lines and is half the conversation, but she is doing so much work with just her facial
Oh
expression
yeah.
and her eyes and all of those thoughts that you were just describing. They're rolling through her brain. None of
Yeah.
it is said aloud, but we're able to pick up on all of those little cues. So just shout out to her for really just wow, she communicates so much without having to say anything. It was so well done.
It's so good. It's so good. Shout out to Jeremy Allen White, honestly, in this scene too. Like, we've seen him do some incredible moments of glorious acting in previous seasons of The Bear. And I feel like this scene is another really great example where it's hard. It's so much emotion, all happening all at once. There's guilt, shame, hopefulness, like just persistence all at once. And I really believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I really feel him trying so hard and struggling to get the words out, struggling, battling so much. And similarly to Jeremy Allen White just does so much with his face. There's the close-up shot of him as well. I think the camera is so close to both of their faces in this scene, and does not give us like a wide shot cut to like have a moment of respite to collect ourselves. No, we're right up in there in the emotions with them. It reminds me of actually the scene where they, I think, like meet for the first time or first few times, and they're like captivated by each other. And it's also a lot of close ups of their faces as they're, falling in love. And this almost mirrors that again of just being so close to the emotion and what it might feel like to see this person right in front of you, like inches from your face, feeling so much before you. And we as the viewers get to do that with them.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide, which also
Oh,
shows like
yeah.
their vulnerability and trying to like
Yeah.
express all of the emotions, and they can't hide anymore, which Carmy is very good at hiding. So we need
Yeah.
to be right there, right close to his face.
Right up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Another, I think, notable moment that we were hoping for in our looking ahead section in our previous episode is more Marcus. So we get a whole Carmy and Marcus conversation outside in the back alley behind the bear. Tell me your thoughts on how that conversation goes.
I love Marcus so much. Like
Me too.
he's just the best. Um I I loved how that was even like built up too, cuz earlier we see Marcus get the call from his dad that he ignores, and we
Yeah.
see Carmy kind of eyeing the package of cigarettes, and then we see that those two things collide out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, you know, Marcus is kind of like lost in his own world, kind of processing his stuff, but he sees Carmy about to light up a cigarette and he's like, nope, don't do it. And so I love even that moment where like Marcus is focused on his stuff, trying to take a break and take care of
Mm.
him. And yet he sees Carmy about to make a mistake and he has to call him out. But then that was such a good conversation too with Carmy and Marcus. And it reminded me of whatever the previous episode was where Marcus really like beats himself up and Carmy comes into the alley and like sits down and encourages him and is like, hey, you're gonna make more mistakes and that's okay. It was that kind of
Yeah.
vibe, but I also love
Yes.
that Carmy has maybe enough like self-awareness in this conversation to be like, I can't I can't offer a solution, you know. I
Yeah.
just can kind of be here with you. And then, of course, he
Yeah.
pivots to something that he can offer a solution to and he can help Marcus with. But I thought that, you know, because Carmy's impulse is to try and fix things. Like he's not good at like
Mm.
listening and sitting in the emotion, which I get because that's really hard to do. I am also a fixer.
Mm.
I understand. And so I love that that step of growth is I can't fix this and I can
Yeah.
acknowledge that. And I can just sit here with you for a second and then talk about something that we can actually like fix and work on. So
Mm.
I appreciated that step of growth.
Yeah.
Again, Carmy's baby stepping it, which I love that it's a lot more realistic, the moves that he's making, rather than like now he is an emotionally healthy human. No, he's still struggling, but he is trying and he's making steps in the right direction.
Mm.
And we celebrate that.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, and also him being emotionally intelligent and aware enough to know that Marcus might not really be even ready to have that conversation yet. Because I think that there's there's moments where we've seen Marcus really open up to Carmy, and I think Carmy, offers space and presses a little and sees that I think Marcus just needs more time to be with it on his own before he's ready to share about it. And so he's just like, all right, let's pivot to another conversation topic, but like I'm here for you. I love how the conversation even begins too. I jotted down Carmy comes out, he goes, you good? Marcus goes, yeah. Carmy goes, try that again. And then Marcus shares a little bit more. Like, hey, I got this call from my dad, blah, blah, blah. It's weird voicemail. And I love that Carmy is able to see that there's something more there and just like double click a little bit more and offer a little bit of, hey, I see you. If you want to talk about it, we can. If we don't, it's okay too. But that's growth for Carmy because when he's shutting down, he can't see anybody else around him and what their needs are. At his best, he can really observe and take in what Sid needs, what Tina needs, and just like he's so emotionally intelligent, very similar to Richie in that way. But at his unhealthiest, all of that goes out the window. So it was neat to see him operating in that again, of being able to see and notice those little subtle changes in presence or mood and be able to just create a little space for them in the way that they need.
Another, he is growing and we're so proud of him. Way to go,
Yes.
Carmy. Another Carmy moment that I really loved is at the beginning of the episode with Sid. You know, she makes this whole scallop dish and she's ready
Yeah.
for him to try it. And he's like, no, it's perfect. And I love
Ah,
uh,
yeah.
her response is, so it's all right. And then he says to your episode title, better than perfect. And I
Oh,
loved that moment. And I love, like, we've talked about how Sydney and Carmy can be very similar to each other in some ways, and at points in the show it's almost been like a competition between them. Sometimes it's
yeah.
been a collaboration where they're both able to lean into their strengths, but
Mm,
sometimes when they're butting heads it's almost this like competitive thing. And there's none of that in that interaction. And Carmy has
mm,
no ego in that conversation. And he's like, no, it's great. It's all you. Put it on the menu. Like, it's ready to go. And then you also
So good.
see the I don't know, the maybe self-doubt from Sid that is maybe partially because of this like multi-year journey with the bear and the way that Carmy has shot her down so many times too.
Yeah.
And that moment of like, it's all right. Like
What?
perfect is translated in her brain as all right. And
Yeah.
I appreciated that because like I feel like we all do that where somebody will like say something nice or give us a compliment or like highlight our growth and we doubt what they're saying instead of actually taking what they're saying at face value. And so for him to then remind her, no, it's even better than perfect. Like re-up. Like I wasn't just trying to like gas you up and like make you feel good, but like this is actually really, really
Actually,
good.
really.
I just I loved that short little conversation. I thought was so meaty and meaningful given the journey of both of these characters.
Mm-hmm. And I love that the camera lingers on her after he leaves too, and you just see that she's still like in shock and being like, "Wait, really? Hold on, I need a moment." Like it's all still not fully sunk in yet for her. But she's like, "Oh, okay, okay, all right." Like I guess so. It's still hitting her. And I think I loved that. I love that the show knows to give us that little extra bit to just sit with her facial expressions. And she does a great job with showcasing all that shock. It's really funny too. Yeah, that's so good. Uh, Another little moment that I loved that I think is just so reflective of the way that like human conflicts often begin to go from being very icy to maybe a little bit warmer. And it's Richie seeing Carmy fix the plating of the beef sandwich that is like a surprise for the customers. Uh, you see him resist so strongly at first, like, no, I got it, Carmy. And then I love how much the camera focuses on Richie's face. It's hilarious as he's like, oh, yeah, that's very good. Oh, wow, okay, yes. And so they still have more time needed that they need to like fully reconcile, and some combos need to be had. But sometimes that's just how like human conflicts when you're in a fight with someone. There's these like little moments of warmth that just begin to usher in the rest of the reconciliation. And I feel like that was a perfect example of uh, them just offering little olive branch like dustings at each other to begin to try to reconcile. And even Carmy offering to fix it was his gesture. Richie allowing Carmy to fix it is his gesture to say, okay, like we're trying here. We're both trying here. And we're not ready to have this full combo yet. We are not ready, but the ice is definitely warming and melting a little bit. So I loved that little moment. And also Richie just fully appreciating and seeing Carmy in his gifts and his talents and being like, no, I'm gifted in this area, but man, this guy's got it in this arena. And I just need to let him shine for this few seconds before I take this plate out to the customer. I just love that little moment.
Yeah, it was so good, and it also reminded me of in the first episode of the show, because Carmy wants to do this he wants to do a whole different menu, and Richie is essentially like, no, we can't do that, we can't serve
Yeah.
what you want, we have a whole line, you need to make the spaghetti or whatever it was. And then after they have that whole confrontation, Carmy goes back into the kitchen, then Richie tries what Carmy had made, and his face is like, oh my gosh, that's so good. And so I feel like that little moment in this episode is almost like a
Mm,
callback to that, because you see
yeah.
them in that first episode, they're just butting heads the entire time. And Richie cannot understand Carmy's vision. But then it's the same thing here in this episode where Richie's like, no, this is how it should be. But Carmy has a different vision. And once Carmy starts to execute, then Richie sees it and is like, oh no, your way
Mm-hmm.
is better. So I love that we get those little touches throughout the show where these two they will butt heads very loudly, very clearly, but they also will come to an understanding and a respect of the other's gift, even if they don't always express it maybe at all, or they don't
Yeah.
express it in the most healthy way. But we see that throughout the show where they're both like, oh, okay, yeah, that was the right call.
Mm-hmm. And I love that it's unspoken between the two of them, but they kind of both know when the other is feeling that. And that's kind of more than enough. Like, it doesn't need to be said aloud the way that we've seen other characters really affirm each other so clearly and audibly. But them even just allowing you to touch my dish before it goes out the door is already me being like, okay, fine, just it's cool to see the way that they kind of have that mutual understanding too, and know when the other is just like, oh, okay, that was very good. That was very good indeed. In their own way. It's their own way of communicating that doesn't have to look like everybody else's, which is cool.
And
Okay,
should we
other big
talk about
moments.
the other
Yeah,
time that your guy shines when he
my
makes
dude.
it snow
It's
and
so
brings in the
weird.
facts?
It's so endearing. I just eat it up. I I think it's cool seeing how much he lights up when he gets this idea. And he's so like wired to give in this way and use his charisma to make it do it up big and dramatic, like even the way that he introduces the whole like surprise to the guests is so larger than life. But I think it also captures what Carmy and Mikey talk about at the beginning of this whole season, which is it's about making people feel safe, making them feel joy, just giving them a moment that they're going to remember. And I think there was something extra special about perhaps just like how many shots we got of the family in the snow, because it looked like a family dynamic that was whole and healthy. And I feel like we've seen so many of these characters come from broken families or really rough family dynamics. And so them almost being able to create this moment where this family could bond added to, I think, the fuzzy feelings of the moment too. Like, it could have been anybody, right? It could have been a dad and the child, but it's a full family that's here, that's experiencing this moment, and almost like healing them in a little way of being able to give, at least if not themselves and growing up in rough childhoods and rough homes, at least somewhere else they could make this happen and hopefully like pass it forward into the next generation. So I just thought there's something about that choice too that felt really pure, and you see everyone basking in it as well.
I also loved that you see the different dynamics between Richie and Fack and our crew and the Ever crew. Because
Yeah.
I think our crew that we have been following can learn a lot from the staff that was formerly at Ever, because they were so precise and they got it, and they are just so diligent and good at what they do, and there's a professionalism there that they bring that I think our crew can really learn from. But I love that in this episode the Ever crew gets to learn something from Richie. And Richie has, because he
So
hasn't
good.
had a lot of money, he has to be innovative and creative. And that, you see that. Whereas the Ever crew, they were just always able to like buy whatever it was because they had enough money. And so I loved that moment where Richie is like, nope, I got a low tech solution. And then that brings everybody out, and everybody is in awe of what this crew was able to create. And so I just thought that was such a beautiful moment to show the ingenuity and creativity of Richie. And he brings so much to this show and this team that we don't always get to see displayed, because it might look a little bit different than we would expect, but he still brings a lot of creativity there. And I loved seeing him. Not
It's
just
so
we
good.
see his heart to care, but we also see his creativity in making that happen. And I think that was a really beautiful display of like who this character is.
Yes, absolutely. And I think even down to the detail of them being given Swiss Miss beforehand. Like it's not some like bougie Belgian dark chocolate. It's Swiss Miss because that's childhood. That's things that you grew up with. It's scrappy. And I feel like we often see Richie often, talking about this like elitism, this pretension that's part of like fine dining or the culinary industry, and somehow how to make that feel accessible and feel comfortable and not elitist. He has like such a sensitivity to that. It's like part of his wiring. And I love this that he brings. Obviously, he's going to spend on the flour budget, but then also he's going to bring it back down to Swiss Miss powdered hot chocolate, and knowing that that's actually what you want most in this magical little moment is something that's nostalgic, something that feels so familiar and so comforting instead of the nicest, fanciest stuff. No, real life is Swiss Miss hot chocolate after a snow day, and his understanding of how to bring these two things together. And I love those little details too that are woven in there.
Oh, it was so good. It was such a magical moment. And I love that even the whole team comes out of the kitchen to experience this too. And so that just felt like yet another like affirmation of who
Yeah.
Richie is and all of his gifts and everything. It was just, it was so sweet.
Yeah. So good. So good. Okay, any other big moments that we wanted to call out before we give out some awards?
I think another just kind of interesting recurring theme in this episode and this season so far is parents. In the first episode, Mikey and Carmy talk about their dad, and we've
Yeah.
seen Sid's dad call her, leave voicemails. We actually see him in this episode. Marcus's dad calls him. I don't think we've heard anything about Marcus's dad so far in the show. And then even in
Right?
that conversation between Richie and Tiffany, they reference Tiff's mom. We see Donna make an appearance in this episode. So like
Yeah.
there's a lot going on with like parents in this. And I mean, we've seen a little bit about like Richie and his daughter and how he's parenting. Obviously, Sugar is a mom now. So like there's something building about parents and the relationship between parents and kids that obviously has been a theme throughout the show given the Berzatos and their family history and all of that. But I'm just I don't know, it just felt very notable in this episode how
Mm.
many times we see or hear reference to somebody's parent. I was like, oh, this is more than we normally get in a single episode. So it felt notable.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And it makes me nervous. I'm like, oh no. Whenever there's parent stuff, there's always like drama. There's always I just don't want any of these parents to die. We've already seen that. Like I'm getting nervous because parents are calling and I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no,
It feels
absolutely. Yeah.
because there's always like emotional uh uh explosions that happen on the bear from something. And I'm just nervous what it's gonna be.
No, I am also nervous because I
Uneasy.
mean especially when Marcus's dad called him, I was like,
Oh my
is
god.
Marcus's dad sick? Is he going to lose another parent
Right?
in the course of the bear? Like I immediately got stressed for my guy, and I don't want anything bad to happen to Marcus. He's already lost his
Yeah.
mom. He can't lose another parent. I feel the same way about Sydney. Her mom also died. Like she can't lose a parent either.
No.
So
And
it's very stressful.
also, parents often die when child is too busy to call parents and they call them a couple times, but then they never get, and then the child has to deal with like, oh my god, I was too busy because and all these people
Yep.
will be ignoring calls. you know
Yeah.
We're getting nervous here, but
Yeah. I love
yeah.
that the show is already like stressing us out so much about this. We're like bracing for impact. We don't know where the
Yes.
impact is coming from, but we are braced for it. We're so stressed.
Yeah. We're feeling what Carmy has described as, so yeah, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop constantly. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we're feeling right now. I'm like, it's dangling in the air and it's going to come for us. And we are willingly subjecting ourselves to this because we love our characters so much. And we will be there for them For no matter what they go through, we will be there for them. Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Okay. I just want to give one quick little shout out, which is I just love that we get so many Ibra scenes this season so far. We get a whole, he's often just like snippets and moments and short clips in previous seasons, but both the previous episode and this one, we're getting whole scenes with him, and he's so fascinating. I want to know his entire life story. I just feel like he's lived through, seen through so much, is a fountain of wisdom to give, but also just shows up in the world with such an earnestness that I think is so refreshing. I was really like, I need this man not to be scamming him right now, because he was giving major scam vibes. And so when he started talking numbers, I'm like, okay, I guess maybe there's something real here, but I'm wary about this old white man that's a little too enthusiastic. You know what I mean? So anyway, I just love seeing more of Ibra. I love seeing his talents. I love seeing his growth. And I'm intrigued to see what they might be teeing up with him, because he's definitely a much more prominent part of the show as far as airtime. And that's interesting to me. So I'm curious the Ibra arc perhaps of this season, and maybe how he'll be a center of gravity for this team when they need it most. We've seen Marcus be able to do that for this team, and Ibra and Marcus have such similar vibes in how they show up in the world and the role they play in this group dynamic. So I'm just excited to see Ibra really shine, hopefully, this season.
Oh, yes, me too. And I love that we're also seeing how funny he is too, but like with such like deadpan straight face, but he is hilarious. And so I love all of those little pieces of him that are really getting to shine in this season. So yeah, I'm with you.
Great.
I want all the Ibra content. He is fantastic.
So funny, so earnest. We love to see it. Okay, let's give out some awards, shall we? The first category is for Top Chef. What is your choice for this one?
All right, I got to give it to a FAC, and that FAC is Ted for being a good bro and trying to keep Carmy away from Claire because Claire asked him to lie. And I think he also deserves to be Top Chef because he makes a reference to the Disney Channel original movie Motocrossed. And who else watched that movie? I loved it as a child, but it was nice for that to be a throwback while he was also trying to protect Claire. And I just appreciate him being a good bro. It was great.
I just feel like it's so funny that falling in love for him, he describes as being in a Disney Channel original movie.
It's so
That's
good.
The best metaphor description of falling in love I've ever heard. So well done, Ted Fack, you know? I'm giving this award to Ibra because I just love seeing him on screen and for literally keeping the business alive at this point. Like, the man deserves an award, and he's killing it. So, yes. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We love Ibra.
We do. Achievement in Chaos. What's your choice?
The FAC attack setting up the snow situation. Just Neil, Ted, everybody constantly yelling, "This is disorganized. Like, we need a system.
This is dysfunction.
Be calm." Like, it was so chaotic and crazy and also hilarious, and a little dose of the FAC chaos that you had wanted. So
I wanted a little bit of it. Yes. I love that right before we cut away from that scene, there's just a shot straight on of Richie, and we don't see what's happening that he's seeing, but he just goes, hey, no hitting.
And I love that he's like explaining to the Ever crew, like, oh no, this is actually pretty positive. Like,
yes,
we're doing pretty good here.
Very calm. Yeah, we're doing great. And the Ever team is like in their little like blazers, button ups, being like, oh, what have I got myself into? How did I end up here?
Right.
My choice for Achievement in Chaos is the Ted Fack jump scare when Carmy opens the door to Claire's apartment and being like, why are you wearing a robe?
It's so funny.
It's so chaotic.
Oh, man.
That's so good.
Yeah, he is very chaotic.
Everything running through his brain. Just being like, oh no.
That would be terrifying for somebody to open up the door and it's Ted Fack standing there. I would also be terrified. So,
well, thinking about the person that you love being getting it on with Ted Fack that you just broke up with several months ago is also just quite something, you know? So, yeah. The fear in Carmy's eyes. Why are you
Yes.
wearing that? Why are you wearing that?
Why are you in a robe?
Yeah. Spiciest line. What's your choice?
I got to give it to Claire Bear when she says, "I'm not going to help you try and do the right thing."
So good. I love that she says that. I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
So good.
Snaps for our girl. So good. I'm going to give this to Marcus because Marcus is so even keel all the time. He's not always doling out spice. So when he does, I must take note. And it's when Carmy says that he's the worst person in the world to give him advice on the situation. And Marcus goes, so calm. I know, that's probably why I told you.
It's so good.
Wow. Okay,
Uh,
Marcus.
man, he is just speaking the truth over here, and I love that.
So funny. With his sweet little smile. I know, that's probably why I
Mm-hmm.
told you. I have a quick runner up, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
When Carmy calls Pete at the end,
Yes. Yeah. That
the
is also
contact
my
name is,
runner up as well. Yep.
we just got to give a little shout out. The
Yeah.
contact name for Sugar's husband is Sugar's boyfriend, parentheses, Pete, question mark? So good.
I loved
Love
that.
that
And I
detail.
also had a moment of like empathy with Carmy because I won't go in and like change people's names in my phone. I won't. So like it is what it is. What you were put in there is just how you're in there. And
Yeah.
so that was a moment where I was like, you know what, Carmy? If that is how Pete's name was put in my phone a million years ago, that is how Pete's name would still be today. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, it's funny because like the whole crew just dismisses Pete all the time. Poor
Yeah, he's the
Pete, you know.
worst.
And so
Yeah.
the fact that Carby like wasn't sure if this was his sister's boyfriend's name is just also really funny.
I
It's like
love that
Pete
so much.
question mark? I think I don't really remember. Whoops. So funny. All
Mhm.
right, looking ahead, what are you excited to see next? I feel like the possibilities have widened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want Sid to be okay. I want Marcus to be okay. I want Huber to keep killing it in the business.
Yes.
Uh yeah. I'm curious to see where they go though cuz like we've already talked about it, but like things are moving much more quickly. I think the other piece that we didn't talk about is presumably that guy that was sitting alone is
Oh,
that Richie
yes.
was talking to.
Chicago trip.
Presumably he is the star awarder person. I
Yeah.
don't know how that all
Some very
works.
important critic. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in theory, that should come up soon too. And so there's just a lot pointing to Sydney being promoted or elevated in some way. And so I'm just curious to see when that comes and then how much like runway we have left of the show cuz I just
Yeah. 'Cause then anything can
I want
happen.
our girl to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then you're like, now what are we gonna do next? Now we've done the
Exactly.
thing that we thought we
Yeah.
were gonna do.
Mhm.
I love I think it's one of the side characters that says in the previous episode, it's actually better that you don't know who these people are that are the reviewers, because what's most important is providing the best service to everybody and they can tell the difference. And I love that we got to see that in action. Like Richie just being him, being so charming, being so caring and giving in the way that he would be for anybody. And it's not about like the outcomes or earning the outcomes. It's just like this is how we do things, and if we're rewarded for it and noticed for it, great. If not, like we're going to do it either way. I just love that because I think so much of career work ambition can be so like outcome results driven of like I'm going to do this in order to get this, and it's so conditional. And it's like no, the heart of the bear is this is how we care, and it doesn't matter for who, like this is how we're going to care. So I just love that bit. It was so good. We've got some very contemplative episodes. I'm excited for a high energy, upbeat, really funny episode next. I'm ready for that. I want some yelling. I want some chaos. I want some mess. I want some robots, like just something fun and silly. We've been sitting in, like you mentioned, this one emotion for a while. And I think I am ready for a switch up and then bring us back to the warm fuzzies, the deep heart stuff. I am intrigued to see once again when Shapiro is going to come flying in on his wrecking ball into this situation somehow. I think Carmy's making progress, but I also feel like he's like taking so much action, which is really good, but almost like once again, pendulum swinging to the other side of making a lot of rash decisions. And so I would like to see the costs of those and the real after effects of those, and for him to not just be like, oh, we're back and good now. I think growth often looks really chaotic and pendulum swingy in nature. And I think he's kind of doing that. So I would love to see the after effects of him changing the contract and then rejecting it and kind of causing chaos in another way. Instead of shutting down, he's now almost like barreling forward in every direction. Yeah, I think those are my two big things. And then Francie Fack, what's happening there? They teed that up in a previous episode. There seems to be some drama, and we need to meet another Fack this season. So I think that's going to be her. So I'm just curious what happened there because they tee it up so much.
I mean, we do have a family wedding coming up soon. Like, it's like tangentially a family wedding, but that seems like a great place to have some Fack chaos whenever the wedding does happen, which is imminent because she's having her like fitting for a wedding dress. So maybe that's when Francie will show up. I don't know. We don't know, but we're going to be here and we will see her in all of her glory when she finally does arrive.
Yeah, it's always at big family events like weddings, funerals, birthday party, when multiplication of drama happens.
Mm-hmm. Big events. Christmas dinner,
Christmas dinner. Yep.
Yep.
Graduations, any of those. Y'all know. We all know. Cool. All right. Well, this is our review and discussion of episode 3 of The Bear season 4. You can find available to stream on Hulu. Thank you for listening to today's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. So everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continue our journey through The Bear season 4. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about this 3rd episode. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at tvnspod, or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TV and Us and our other podcasts, Movies and Us. We will be back soon to discuss episode 4. We're so excited. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.